Welcome to the Everyday Citizens Tactical Podcast, Episode 28, Night Vision, Budgets, and More. My name is Jeremy, and as always, I will be your host. Today I'm joined by Chance from GP Armory and Midwest Preparedness Center. Chance comes from the law enforcement community and oversees government operations and training at both GP Armory and Midwest Preparedness Center. Today, we're going to discuss various topics related to night vision and its accessories, as well as a few side conversations along the way. So, sit back, hide your credit cards, and enjoy.
Tell me turn it down and I'ma only turn up louder. Call me what you wanna, but you can't call me no coward. Strength in numbers, we the people, still the ones with power. Fighting fire with fire, time to take back what is ours. Tell me turn it down and I'ma only turn up louder. Call me what you wanna, but you can't call me no coward. Strength in numbers, we the people, still the ones with power. Fighting fire with fire, time to take back what is ours.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody, and Chance, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, man. I was kind of excited after meeting you a couple weeks ago when you asked me to come on. I was kind of excited, so appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. I listened to your night vision demo, and just came down and saw you at one of your classes on day 2, and I was like, this guy has a personality. I was like, I'm gonna bring that guy on, and it worked out perfect because I don't have a night vision episode yet, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, excited to talk a lot. There's a lot of information out there. And hopefully we'll just be able to, kind of one of the things I like to bring is a little bit more of a, hey, this is stupid. Don't listen to that, or this is this, because I'm not a sales guy. I just been able to be involved in this world a little bit.
Sure.
So
I hope you're prepared to be bashed in the comments by anybody who thinks they know better.
Oh man, you know what? Bring it on, because I don't read comments.
I can't read, so this works.
I'm too dyslexic, and I've got too many kid books I read for my my kiddos that I'm too busy trying to figure out my kids' math homework he's bringing home from 6th grade.
Yeah,
like,
I get it.
Man,
Colors are
it's
hard.
different. Yeah, colors are hard, right? And I'm like, when they start putting numbers in this or whatever Bill Engvall said a long time ago. So, yeah, no, man, I'm excited. Let's dive into this.
So for those who aren't familiar with you, never taken a class from you, just tell us a bit about Chance, who you are, what you're about, and where you come from.
Awesome. Yeah, my name's Chance. Man, I'm from the Kansas City area, Kansas City, Missouri. Got an awesome family and been involved in the tactical community. I'm a law enforcement officer. I've been involved in the law enforcement tactical community for a long time, and been able to do some stuff, see some stuff, get a couple T-shirts, and wear them out. So I got involved in night vision a long time ago, being issued stuff on the night vision realm. So never used it overseas, never served overseas, but used it quite a bit in the law enforcement realm. But I know a lot of that is a different aspect. I know a lot of your audience is the citizen side. So a lot of when I'm teaching my night vision classes to civilians, a lot of it is based around use of force, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's super cool. It's super fun to have be able to have a superpower. One's like, well, let's actually apply this in, a lot of buying guides, because I'm still a cop in the Kansas City area, but I'm the operations director for a night vision company called GP Armory. So he brought me on to run all the night vision government contracts, but I do all my training through the GP Armory stuff. So I'm not the sales guy, so I'll be straight up with you saying, hey, that's stupid, don't do that. Or, hey, yeah, do this because it's better, and everything is in my opinion. So I mean, that's a little bit about me. Spent some time under. There's definitely lots more people that have spent a lot more time underneath nods than me. Just I was able to kind of grasp into principles and procedures of how to utilize it. And since then, I've now formed some really cool applicable trainings, just with some unique aspects that I learned in my professional world. So it's a little bit about me and who I am. Awesome.
And you guys recently opened up, is it a Midwest Preparedness Center?
Yep. Kansas City's got a shoot house now. We've got a sim house. Awesome. It's called Midwest Preparedness Center. It's just south of Kansas City, and we are a full sim house. We have classroom. We offer medical, all sorts of. We really drive home that preparedness side. So we're not just like a tactical thing. To be honest, the word tactical is kind of the word moist to me, at least. I hate it. I hate it. And I am involved in it, if that makes sense. So it kind of is, it doesn't really make sense that the word tactical bothers me so much, but it does. So, but yeah, Midwest Preparedness Center, we do law enforcement, military training, but we do a whole bunch of civilian classes, and it's all based on, a lot of it is going to be night vision centric. We want a place that people can come, and at noonday, when we built it and designed it, we can host I've got night vision classes coming up, and they are in the morning into the afternoon, and we can do that because it's designed to be able to have all ambient light taken away.
Well, that's awesome, because I know definitely one of the things we're going to get into later is the training side, but one thing that just came to mind when we were talking about this, what's your initial thoughts on the ATF's recent ruling with Simunition and UTM's letter they put out?
It's stupid.
How does that kind of affect you guys?
No, it does. I mean, it does and it doesn't. It's hard for us. We can't do a lot of force on force at our facility for insurance purposes regarding simunitions and UTMs. Now, we do have unit solution rifles. People can bring in their airsoft rifles. There's there's a bunch of different companies, like Umarex, I think, is one of them. So we will do force on force, but the problem is all right, here we go. It doesn't really affect us that much because the ATF is going to do whatever they want, overstretch a lot of whatever they want to do, and not a whole lot you can deal with it. So we just are going to find a way around it. I learned a long time ago that you can either bitch and complain about something, you can not do anything, or you can find a solution. And so we've decided to find a solution. And the best way we've done that is there's other companies out there that are up and coming, and we're going to utilize and give them our business and keep all of our simunition stuff is going to be done for military and law enforcement. Because here's the thing, man. People be outraged at the ATF for overstepping their bounds, but at the end of the day, dude, civilians don't want to be training with simunitions and UTMs anyway, just for this sole purpose. It's expensive, and we are not going to be taking that expense for our classes. We're going to build, if we're going to do it, we're going to build it into the cost of the class, because it's $1.25 a round to pull the trigger.
Sure.
We can't afford that as a business, so we would then enact it to the students. So each class would probably go up, anywhere between 60 to 120 rounds, depending on how much shooting we're going to do. So in essence, it really, let's be outraged at the ATF for overstepping their tyrannical bounds, right? But on the business side of it, it doesn't make sense. We use it all the time in military and law enforcement because it's not our dollar buying it. It's taxpayer dollars. Okay.
Sure.
So my opinion on it is ATF is a tyrannical stretch of the government. They don't need to be around. And I've got buddies that I've worked around ATF agents, and those guys are some of the best patriotic Americans I've ever met. Like, no joke. They're the ones who say, yep, but they understand what their main role is and responsibility. They're not the guys that are enacting that. And I get it. Everybody's going to be like, nah, if you support one, you support them all. You know what? These guys were dadgum Americans, and I did a lot of crazy stuff with them, and they were awesome. So, but in all reality, the ATF doesn't need to be around. They're overstepping their boundaries. And that's just one more example that they have no reason to do that. There's no justified reason in any way, shape, or form for that ruling, in my opinion. But they're doing it because times are getting tough and world's getting crazier. So
you make a good point. It definitely does seem like trainings with UTMs for civilians in the past have been somewhat cost prohibitive to the average civilian. I know me and my local guys, we go up to Midwest Shooting Center, which is in Ohio, but we're not paying. I instruct everything we do, so we're not paying like a company to come in plus travel fees. We're buying directly from Midwest the ammo. It's not like going through stuff. But yeah, hell, you can pay $700, $900, over $1,000 to go to like a 2-day force on force style class, and
correct,
the majority of it's going to be ammo. You're right.
Correct.
It is expensive.
It's expensive. Yeah, and the big thing at MPC, or our training center, is our normal cost of our classes are going to be about $150, $200 maybe. And that's for the full class. And we do that because we want repeated customers. We want people to, if you train with us this month, we want you guys being able to afford to come back in a month or two to come back and continue learning. I did the whole training thing and I'm not putting any of my buddies down with how and what they're doing, but one of the biggest things we were hearing at the end of our courses were, man, I wish we had more. And it's like, well, man, that was a lot of money for you to come to 2 days. Well, the thing is a lot of these principles have to be done over time. I mean, dude, I've been doing this for a long time and I'm still learning stuff. So we want to have some sort of a learning model and a learning model that it would be continued stuff. Okay, now hang on.
And we're back. Sorry, guys. Brief pause. Chance, I'll let you pick back up where you were at. You were talking about training courses and how you guys have been developing them with Midwest and whatnot. So I'll let you pick back up where you were at.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so when we designed, what I saw in the industry the last couple of years was there's a lot of money that a lot of guys want to learn some of this stuff. It's got to be done in a way that's effective and applies as a skill set rather than just spending a lot of time and energy and learning it as a hobby. And what I mean by that is it's good to have hobbies, but the stuff that we're all wanting to learn and teach and grow with, it's a big deal. I mean, it's real life. It's not a game to learn how to be proficient in the use of your firearm. I mean, it's a big deal, right? So that being said, I learned that there's a lot of costs that students were incurring, and I'm like, man, for the classes that I started doing, I'm like, man, this is a lot of money just to come to for our tuition, let alone I was in Utah and we had a dude that was like, hey, I drove to this class from Iowa, and I'm like, dude, we're in Kansas City. Like, why don't you just come down to one there? He goes, oh man, I didn't, you guys didn't have one in the next couple months. And I'm like, so you drove cross country for this class? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, and I think, I can't remember, like, I think I was like, dude, we gave him a refund just because we're like, dude, if you drove all the way out here for that, like, man, that's a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. So in that, at MPC, we're trying to control a lot of that, where we want our students, we want everybody to come and have a good place to train in. Our motto is affordable training, professional environment.
Nice.
We want it to be able to come back and learn something this time, learn something next time, learn something the next time. I've been in courses, I've trained in different places, and I've had incidents, real life experiences that were mimicking the same thing that I've seen a bunch of times, but I learned something new. So we want a place, we want a facility that people can come continually back and know that A, they're going to get good training, B, that it's a good environment, that they're going to be around other good people, like-minded people, and that they're going to get something out of it, and that they're going to get value for whatever their money is, because naturally we're a business, so we want their money in the sense of we want to keep our dream and our passion going, which is empowering, helping, teaching, instructing, and building people to being prepared for whatever they want it to be.
Sure.
So
I think that's one thing that some people are kind of coming around to realizing, but since the 2A community has kind of changed since, I say 2018, but really more significantly since 2020, some people are starting to realize that as a civilian, you're never going to be as proficient as you want to be across the board. It's not... The time is not there. You're not training 4 or 5 days a week, being paid to do so with unlimited resources and multi-million-dollar facilities. It's just not there.
Well, I hate to break it to you, man, but that's not just for the Second Amendment community. That mindset will always be there. Sure. I think I'm pretty good at what I do, but I'll tell you this. I'm always wanting to be better. I'm always surrounding myself with people who are better. I'm always comparing myself. Actually, I was talking about this today with a bunch of guys. So I'm teaching at the Tactical Officer Association. I'm teaching a bunch of cops, and we're talking about it. Like, man, it's this principle of professional versus amateur. And the mindset is, I would rather be an amateur amongst professionals than a professional amongst a bunch of amateurs. Meaning, I'm not an amateur of what I'm doing, but I don't want to be the strongest person around me. I don't want to be the best. I want to make sure that I'm surrounded by people, so I'm continually growing.
Sure. Yeah, and continue to be challenged.
Yeah. And so what you're saying, man, that's not just a 2A thing of like, man, we just want to be better. We need to, no, that's forever. To me, that's the mindset. That's what I teach my sons when they're talking about sports and stuff. I'm like, you guys will never be, it's a fact of life of good people. I think there was this really good quote. It was like, lazy people do the minimal amount and think that they should be winning, and hard workers, or I forget how the quote was, but it's basically like hard workers or winners work as hard as they can and still think that they're being lazy, meaning they're always trying to be better. And to me, that's what a lot of this is. What makes a lot of these good people that I meet so great is they're not comfortable with the status quo. They're always trying to push themselves to be a better father or a better spouse, better, better father figure, better mentor, better worker. That's what we really try and talk about in our civilian classes are, you're going to learn this stuff, and the percentage that you're going to use this in the real world is probably going to be in the decimals of, zero. But these principles can be learned and applied in your professional life, either whether you're a manager, whether you're a lot of this is accountability, leadership, mentorship, morals, that kind of stuff we really try and see, because if you're going to carry a gun morally and ethically, you've got to be prepared for a lot of what that's going to be if you have to use it. And you do that by preparing yourself now. How do you prepare yourself now? You own what the responsibilities are. You go and invest in what you need to do, and it prepares you for it. So that way, when your time comes, if your time comes, you are as best prepared as you can. Well, if you can apply that in the business world, or, it doesn't matter if you are running, the cashier at a Costco, or, a inventory manager of a warehouse. It's like you're over people. You have stewardship. You have people who rely on you, depend on you. You have a mission. You have missions, mission operation stuff that you're supposed to be doing. So here's a way of always and maybe approaching that a little bit. And it's just a fun way of people. And we hear it a lot. It's like, man, I never would have thought about that. And it's like, well, it's just a way of looking at it. That's all it is. So, but the big thing is that we don't, we very much stress that we don't cheapen the realism or the danger level of, we don't want people coming thinking that they're just getting an experience. I know I just said that, when in all reality, if you're coming to us, we're going to be like, hey, this stuff is really dangerous. Like, if you really, this isn't just a game that, you can hit the reset button on. This stuff's really dangerous. You pray that this will never happen, because if you do, this will be life altering, life changing, and it could scar. If it goes bad, it'll, change everything. But even if it goes well, it'll still probably scar you mentally, or people around you mentally, for a long time, because traumatic events produce just that, trauma. And trauma, everybody processes trauma differently. Some people hold it in, some people it doesn't affect, and some people, man, it eats at them, and it withers their soul and their morals away, because they don't know how to process it. So it's a big deal. It's kind of that heavy stuff when we're talking about this. Like, yeah, we have fun and games, and best part about being American is we can pull the trigger a lot at paper targets. It's like, man, when that thing is flesh and blood, you don't get that back. So you don't get to have that, like, hey, that was fun, slap hands. It's like, man, you pull that trigger, that's it, man. That's a big deal. You're going to have law enforcement breathing down your neck. You're going to have judges. You're going to have lawyers. You're going to have a lot of people there to get a piece of you, because you now have essentially committed a crime, which is, it's called homicide. Homicide is the taking of somebody else's life. What they're going to be doing is taking you now before somebody and saying, was this justified or not? And if it's just because, then that's what you got to do. It's like, man, if you're not ready for that, here's the thing, man. And I know we're getting a little off topic, but
that's right. You're on the roll.
Yeah, even being prepared for that, I think I'm a pretty good student of it. And being, you still can't prepare for the whole aspect of it. And this is where I talk to a lot of my buddies in the military, they've killed a lot of people, man. Killed a lot of people. Okay. And this is going to be something kind of heavy, but understand that I'm trying to build a foundation, I guess. It's just, this stuff isn't a freaking game. Even preparing as much as you can for it, you can never prepare enough. And a lot of it, especially if you do something here, CONUS, or in the United States, it's going to eat at you. Did I do enough? There's going to be a lot of like, man, how much trouble am I going to be in? what's the legal battles. We teach there's 3 battles to a gunfight. And the first one is the gunfight, and that usually takes statistically 10 seconds or less. Okay, but you're going to have a spiritual battle you'll battle for the rest of your life, and you're going to have a legal battle you'll battle probably potentially for years to come. The thing about the 2A community is that there are organizations, multi-million-dollar organizations out there that are so bent and putting all that money into taking somebody's, to coming after you legally, whether you were justified or not, because they are so adamant of being against people having the rights to defend themselves that they're going to come after you legally afterwards. And now you have to be able to, take yourself before the court of public opinion. You've got to be able to take yourself, and you've got the legal fees of lawyers and all of this stuff. Because why? Because we want that right, that Second Amendment sacred right of that right to defend ourselves. And if you are not mentally prepared for it, it will be a ride that will mow you over and will catch you unprepared. And it's just one of those, like, it should be looked at as like a sacred the Second Amendment should be looked at as a sacred right that we have. And if I consider something sacred, man, I'm going to treat it that way. That means it's not just something I casually possess. I want to make sure I treat it like that. So, man, that's kind of deep. That's kind of diving into the deep side of it. But I really try to drive that home, because I've been a part of the legal side of it. I've been a cop for a long time, and I've been a part of that legal side, and I'm very much in the majority with a lot of those cops out there that the Second Amendment is there for a reason, and we have to defend it just the same way we defend everybody else from all the other rights. But I've seen how the weight of what opposition can come against people, and it's not, they don't give a crap about who you are. They don't give a crap about how much taxes you pay. Nothing. And what's coming down on you, it is a full locomotive that is in full bore, and it will not stop. So the best way to prepare for that is doing it now, just in case something happens later. So, all right, that's my theory, that's my theology, and that's my deep thoughts for you, Jeremy.
that was deep, but it was good. It was well said.
So that's a little bit about, that's just a little bit about what we're trying to do at MPC, I guess, is, we're not just going to be saying, hey, throw your kit on, throw your rifles and throw your nods and everything on. Let's just go have fun. It's like, yeah, definitely. There is a very important aspect to having fun with that. You know why? Because, it's freaking awesome. Mm-hmm. It really is. There's no getting around. It is awesome, and it's a lot of fun. But we need to make sure that we're not losing sight of it, because we think, and we're kind of playing a little bit of make-believe, aka that's what training is. You are make-believing a scenario just in case it were to come. So we just have to be wary that we're doing it in a way that is practical. If we really, it's practical, it's trainable, it's adaptable, and it's repeatable. So we all get something out of it. There's the fun part of it. So.
Awesome. Well, let's transition over to kind of our main topic, being night vision. And obviously there's so much content on night vision and the evolution of night vision and all that kind of stuff. So we're not going to dive, deep into the history of night vision. But
I don't know the history of night vision. I can tell you a little bit about like Gen 1, Gen 2 stuff, Vietnam, sure. That kind of stuff. But you kind of told me a little bit about it, and I kind of had some little talking points prepared that I think, a unique way that whenever I give people this analogy or a couple of these things, people are like, man, I've never thought about it like that. And I'm like, well, there you go. There's a little bit.
So let's dive into kind of where the modern night vision realm is at, and not for, the agency with unlimited funding rocking quads, but, just even your basic, suburban police department, your civilian getting into night vision, where are we kind of at right now with where night vision stands? So
it's funny. Everybody wants quads. Everybody wants quads, right? Why does everybody want quads?
They look cool.
So I was never issued quads. I got buddies who were issued quads, stateside and overseas, and very, very rarely. So they have a place And here, the guys that I know that are issued both 31 alphas and quads, guess what? A majority of the time they're running.
Not the quads.
Not the quads. They're big. They're bulky. They are looking cool. And I'll tell you what, that whole field of view thing, it really is pretty awesome. But very impractical for a lot of the stuff, at least that we were doing. And then same with them. So they run their 31 alphas the majority of the time. So, all right. So where are we at? I guess there's a lot right now. So the analogy I'll give people is like, here's how when they're getting into it, there's a lot of letters that are always stacked in sequential order and they all mean different things, right? Mm-hmm. ARNVGs, BNVGs, GPNVGs, LLU21s, PVS 31 alphas, PVS 15. There's all of these letters and numbers thrown together. It almost looks like a dadgum Morse code that we're like, what? And like, I remember when we were first buying stuff, I was like, what does all of this mean? I don't get it. So here's breaking it down. Here's a little bit of what helped me. This is how I'll break it down. If I were to stack a whole bunch of trucks in a parking lot, and you understand that I am simplifying this in a way that is not 100% contextually accurate, but it's the best way for a majority of people. This is a great way of understanding what night vision is, like the housings and everything. We're talking about the actual mechanical, physical specimens of night vision. Okay. If I were to stack up a whole bunch of trucks and I have an F-150, a Dodge, Chevy, GMC, Titan, all of the trucks in a parking lot, every one of them looks a little bit different. And I'm talking brand new models, dude. All right. Every one of them looks different. Everyone has different features and stuff like that inside. You get inside and everybody's like, man, I like the F-150, I like the Dodge or whatever, right? And that is going to represent all of the different housings out there. So there's two main aspects of night vision. You have the tubes, which is going to be the actual device inside that allows you to see in the dark. Okay. And the housing is going to be the way or the things that contain and how that is attached to the helmet and functions and provides all of the mechanical computers and switches and illuminators and all that stuff. That's the housing. So you have the tubes, which is the green FOSS, white FOSS, and L-bits and stuff, right? Then you have the housing, which is all the ways that carries that. So in that parking lot, all those trucks are going to represent the housings, aka DTNVS, PVS 31 alphas, UL21s, ARNVGs. I'm going to get them all wrong, and I'm going to have these companies like, man, this guy didn't mention us. So, BNVD, I can't even remember all of them. Okay, but there's a lot of different housings. Now, you pop open the hoods, and every single one of them is going to be the exact same engine and the exact same transmission, meaning you have green FOSS, white FOSS, and L-bits. And then, so in all this different stuff and here's the thing, I know all your readers are going to be, or your listeners are going to be like, man, there's all these other different things too. It's like, no, I'm not going to be talking about Photonus Gen 2 Plus and stuff like that. I'm talking if I am going to go to war, or if I'm going to be stepping off in a professional realm, I'm going to be choosing something that I'm going to depend my life on and depend my buddy's life on. And I won't do that on Gen 2 Plus Photonus stuff. Okay. All right. So in that, you choose the housing and then select which tubes. Like GP Armory, what I loved about what GP Armory did is we are an L3 tubes dealer. So we got a big contract with L3 that we fulfill every month, and we build our own tubes. So we find housings and stuff like that, and we build our own tubes. So in that, basically you have all the different chassis of trucks, and underneath is the exact same. So Jeremy, I like the body of the F-150, and my set right now, I have L3 filmless tubes inside of these new ones that I'm trying out, which are done by Low Light Innovations, and they're called Ultralight 21s, UL21s. Okay, the tubes in there are 2700 FOM. Okay, which is, we're not going to get into all of that because it's all of the different stuff, and I mispronounce some of it sometimes. So they can go read all of the different FOM and UAs and stuff like that, and noise to noise to sound ratio and all of that stuff, right? In fact, Chip with TNVC had a great, fantastic podcast with the guy that does all the NRAs, like Colin Noir or whatever. Great podcast, fantastic breakdown, and he does a lot better at it than I do. You there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of quiet, but I got you.
Okay. So he does a lot better at it than I do on all of that stuff. But as far as like the explanation of it goes, I have in my possession up in my hotel room right now, I have DTNVSs, I have Katanas, PVS 31 Alphas, UL 21s, the metal ARNVGs, and I've got a PVS 14. Every single one of them internally are L3 filmless white phos tubes. They're the exact same. FOM is almost identical. Okay, the housing's different. DTNVSs have built-in illuminators. PVS 31 Alphas have the adjustable gain, right? Certain ones have rear ocular adjustments and forward ocular adjustments and stuff like that. Some have external battery packs, some don't. Some require, there's all of these different features, but inside, you pop the hoods on those trucks, inside of them, they're all the exact same. So, pick your tubes, pick your housings, and that's how a lot of it works. So if they're like, well, what's the difference between the Katanas and the DTNVSs? The housing is the only thing that's different. The tubes are the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So that was something that I'm like, oh, I know. Like when I was getting into this and understanding it, I was getting so mixed up in all of the different stuff where I'm like, no, they are the exact same underneath the hood, just the bodies are different.
Obviously, you've been around long enough before white phosphorus was really a big thing, and you probably rocked green professionally in the past.
Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Came at you hot there.
Yeah. My first thing I was issued was a green 14.
Do you have a preference between green and white phosphorus?
Yeah. No question. White's better for me.
Here.
So let's go over some, like, man, if I can remember all of them, I kind of, whenever I'm doing these classes and stuff, I have these little nuggets that I try and drop here and there, and let's try and go through some of them. And I call them Hollywood myths and tricks. And this is a great example. Green phos is better than none.
Sure.
Okay. I would rather have dual green phos than a single white phos 14. Okay. All day. It's that, to me, it's that important. I would rather have, now I'm going to have some people kind of hit me at this, and remember, this is all my opinion. And if people shut me off, then that's fine. But remember, this is just my personal opinion. I would rather have good quality green phos over Elbit tubes. And I'm not saying Elbit white phos. I don't know all the, Elbit is so new that the reason why I say green phos over Elbit is because green phos has been tried and tested and true.
Sure.
Okay. Elbit, I've been there and I've seen students, I've had hands-on with there's a lot of, it's called noise. So if I'm looking in a completely dark room, there's no ambient light, you see the freckles, or you see the specks of everything dancing on your screens or on your tubes, right? Well, that's the noise. Under low light ambient settings, Elbit tubes tend to have a lot more noise than green tubes. Green tubes are a lot more clear. So this is a personal opinion. If I was given the exact same housings, but high quality green phos over Elbit, I would take green all day. And again, that's just my personal opinion. But if I had to choose it's L3 filmless all day on all night. All day and all night, pun intended, right?
I feel like the white phosphorus filmless is just.
Let's talk about that.
It's such a nice picture.
Let's talk about that. Filmless or filmed? Let's talk about that. Filmless or filmed? I can't think of any. Okay, so we deal in that stuff, right? So we can do that. I can't think of a single incident where here's what, okay, and I'm trying to remember, like, this is how much it doesn't affect or isn't a part of my professional life now that I'm doing and outfitting and training people in this. Now, granted, I'm not saying I'm the best at this. All I'm saying is I've found a lot of these principles that are effective in my professional realm. Okay. I can't think of anybody that really debates filmed or unfilmed. I have a theory that filmed came from somebody asking for it and it being like, no, that's stupid. We don't need that. Or there's some sort of a contract or somebody came and said, we need this. And all it is just, basically it adds some life to, or it helps filter out some of the light that goes into your knots. Okay. I don't ever foresee that is where I need it. I would rather control that by throwing on daytime caps, and we're going to get to daytime caps here in a little bit. So yes, L3 filmless is the gold standard. And what's cool, and I'll throw a little pitch out to our company, is, man, you can actually contact Garrett or I, and you can pick your own. Like, you can actually say, we'll send you the copies of the spec sheets, and you can pick your own tubes, and then pick your housing, pick your tubes, and you can pick your own set out. Essentially, kind of like we'll custom make your set for you, which is kind of cool. Nice. I mean, like, we have pre-built sets, 100%. We have pre-built sets. But dude, yeah, if you're like, man, all of this isn't, man, well, hey, contact us and we can build your own set for you.
Nice.
So that's kind of cool. That's actually what I did with mine. I sold my 31 alphas and pocketed the extra money, and I picked out. So my UL 21s are like 2,700 FOM, and I have another set of 31s with my professional job, like the fact of with GP Armories that travel with me, and continually I'm like, hey, look through these, now look through these. Which one is better? And it's like, I can't tell the difference. And it's like, exactly, because inside the internal stuff are the exact same.
Sure.
So
my name is Joe Schmo, and I got a little bit of Christmas money left over, and I want to get into the night vision game.
Love this question.
What price point before mounts and lasers am I looking at for just a decent Gen 3 tube?
Okay, so let's talk. And this is, again, in my opinion. If I get asked this a lot, the first thing you want to put your money to is stuff that you can use during the day and stuff that you can use during the night. So making sure you have a good light, making sure you have a good rifle, and making sure you have a good suppressor. Suppressors, it'll benefit you during the daytime, nighttime. Okay. Get the suppressor, throw your $200. We already talked about how fun the ATF is, right? Throw your $200 ATF thing in there, and then you just forget about it. And so while that's in jail, you can now start accumulating that budget towards other stuff. So outfit your stuff with things that will complement you during the daytime and nighttime. Okay. And a white light, a good white light, is something that is absolutely applicable during the daytime, because again, I've done stuff where I'm going from daytime to darkness, or going from outside to inside, and very much is white light is a very important tool. So recommendations for white light: stay away from Streamlight TLR1s. If you've got one of my biggest pet peeves is how much cops put TLR1s on their rifles, because you have a pistol light that was designed for maybe 40 yards with on a weapon that's ballistically capable out to 800 yards. So outfit it with something that'll allow you to at least see in distance someplace, or at least allow that. Candela is more important than lumens, so get something that I've been around enough to remember that, watching all the SHOT Show stuff of, hey, this is 800 lumens, now this is 1,000 lumens, now it's 16,000 lumens, and it's like, well, all that does is just, in all reality, is cast a lot of shadows. It goes out and does fine, it casts a lot of shadows. I want something to be able to focus right where I'm looking at, so I can know what is that right there. So that's what made Mod Light famous. They did a really good job kind of upgrading the the standard. Cloud Defense has really good lights. But then again, I've switched all those out, man, in that new Surefire Turbo, and I don't get anything from these companies. And I've spent all of my own money on it, but I've switched out all my rifle lights and my pistol lights to the Surefire Turbo. They are just awesome. They're awesome. But that again, just get whatever's put something on your rifle that's going to be great during the day and night. So, all right, next, get a good optic. And I like risers. I know it seems like right now there's like this whole stupid BS with, it seems like the Instagram community kind of gets wrapped up in of like, hey, sling, my necklace, or am I swimming into my sling? Is it recce rifle or not recce? I can't keep up with them, and I don't want to. But right now there's like, well, you don't need risers, because Kyle Lamb on a video with Dirty Civilian was like, man, I can do it the same. It's like, yeah, you can, but it doesn't mean that that's not ideal. Now, granted, we're kind of getting out of hand with having 6-inch risers and stuff like that, but make sure you have a good optic and a fairly good riser. And, all the different things out there with Unity, Scaleworks, and Overbore, man, these are all staples and great buying choices. Just make sure that it's right for you. So all of that stuff translates to daytime and nighttime. Now let's get into your question. So that's my little thing about I've had people show up with nods with $50 Amazon lights on their rifles, and I'm like, how do you have an 8,000 set of nods and you've got a $50 light? It's because they, you know what I mean? It's like, man, put it to where it's most needed. Okay. So Joe Schmo budget, man. I know everybody say, man, get a 14, and I'm like, cool. If that's all you can afford for the next foreseeable future, get a 14. However, we are constantly hit up by people saying, hey, can I trade in my 14 for a set of duals?
Sure.
So, yes, you can. Contact Garrett. Hit him up on IG. But understand, we're going to treat it kind of like a pawn shop. I mean, we're not going to give you what, go sell it on tax swap. We're not going to buy it from you. We're taking it off of you in trade, so we can sell it, make some money off of it, and we'll give you credit towards a set of duals.
Sure.
That is like Garrett sometimes wants to pull his hair out with how much he hears that. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because everybody's being told, if you can't get nothing, get a 14. Okay. Do you ride motorcycles?
No.
Okay.
I ride horses, remember?
Oh, that's right. You ride horses. Okay.
Which I've done under knots and is awesome.
Dude, that's some gangster stuff. That's gangster. Man, that's straight gangster. Now, have you done other stuff under knots? That is even more gangster. Yes. Especially if she doesn't have knots. So anyway, that being said, all right. So a lot of people out there are saying, hey, get a 14 if you can. And I'm like, okay. If you can have some patience and understand that the world's not going to go to hell in a handbasket in the next 6 months, you can budget stuff, do stuff, sell stuff in order to accumulate some of that money you need to buy once, cry once. And the motorcycle analogy is, when I was looking like, hey, for my first motorcycle, it was like, hey, get a Honda Rebel 250. Or I was like, no, I'm not. That's a girly bike. I'm like, okay, get a Harley Davidson Sportster 883. It's a good beginner bike. I got a mid-level bike, and you want to know what I realized within about a month and a half of it?
Wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. Okay. So here is, in my opinion, you should never go into debt. You should never go into unnecessary debt. Okay. Because we do stuff for debt, for points and stuff like that. So understand, I'm going to give the caveat of unnecessary debt. Sure. Don't go into unnecessary debt. Okay, but save your money, and you can afford a good set of dual tubes. Okay, meaning a great thing we're running for a little bit. Right now, these UL21s, man, we have some stuff coming down with them. Again, I don't get anything from them. I just know what they're doing, and on the business side of it, and I'm kind of bringing them in with us. I'm like, these guys are doing it right. So find an affordable way of doing it, save up your money, and buy once, cry once. Dude, right there at that, when you and I met at that night vision demo, we had dudes coming up with 14s. And they're just like, man, there's just not even a comparison. I'm like, I know.
Oh yeah.
I know. So save up a little bit, and you know what? We live in a society that drives home, buy it now, buy it now, buy it now. And it's like, actually, how about a principle that I was taught, which is budget, save, work hard, and then when you get it, you cherish it that much more. And now for the next 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, hey, hang on 1 second. Hey, Tyler, I thought that was you on the scooter.
It's me on scooter.
All right. Well, I'm on a podcast. Go away. Go away. Oh, man. Sorry about that, man. These are good dudes. Everyone. I literally thought this guy was just riding down the scooter. All right. Anyway, you're going to edit that out. That's fine. So the whole point of it is don't go into debt for a set of knots. But why don't you save up for a little bit? Because once you work hard, save up, sell some of those safe coins that you bought and you haven't used or worked with or anything like that, or maybe sell your car that you've got a huge payment on that car. Well, if you put $400 or $500 away and drive a mediocre car, okay, guess what? Save that money up, and now in 6 to 8 months, you can buy a set of L3 filmless white phos tubes, and now you are ready to go with your own set of knots. Okay, and I can't be a financial advisor, but I can tell you trends I see is everybody wants it and wants it now, and they're more likely to settle for something because they want to imitate, or they want to imitate something, and now they're left with a subpar product, while there could have been other ways they could have problem solved and gotten that.
So general ballpark for a monocular, and then duals. What are we looking at?
See, again, man, I'm not the sales guy, so don't quote me on this. I don't know actually what Garrett runs all of that. Green monocular. We take a lot of law enforcement trade-ins. We just had a bunch of them, and they like that. Green 14 monoculars. I think the lowest one was about 15, and the highest one. Remind me about this. Specs or
specs.
Yeah, specs or defects, like the dark spots in the tubes. All right. The high greens were, I think the highest one we had was about $2,700 because it was almost flawless. So, white phos, we don't really do a lot with Elbit. Garrett's starting to do it because Garrett handles a lot of the civilian stuff. Garrett's starting to get in a little bit more Elbit, so we can help out with that. Man, there's so much to talk about. We can probably turn this into another episode if we really wanted. But okay, a white L3 filmless white phos mono is is mid threes. A really, really, really good one might be a little higher, but from my understanding, if one is better than the other, the price difference doesn't go up very much. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, hey, this is flawless, so it's $700 more. It's not. That's not how it rolls. Yeah. And again, remember, I handle all the government contracts and the training and stuff like that. But that's not how Garrett rolls. That's not how I roll. And so if usually the price is different, it's usually for a supply and demand thing. Like, hey, we have these right now, and so we'll try and do the best we can. A set of duals. Greens, I'm not sure. We don't deal with greens. Greens are more the surplus, like we get them in trade or something like that. So, price points, no clue. White phos, man, this is where it starts getting fun and interesting. And again, I don't know industry standards. I know what is out there because I do a lot of bids for government agencies and such. And usually a set of articulating L3 filmless white phos duals runs anywhere between mid 10s and all the way up to 13.7 for 31s. Now, here's what's fun. We will run a special for all your listeners or whatever. You and I will come up with a code. There are that UL21, so the UL21s, and again, man, I don't get a dime from this. I just like that, just like you and I were talking, they're good people. This is an American-made product, and they're kind of redefining the industry. So, those run us L3. They are 3D printed. American made, full no questions asked warranty. I call it the Vortex warranty because that's why Vortex got how as big as they were, is because they kind of came into Leopold and gave them the middle finger and said, ha, ours is a no questions asked warranty. Meaning like you could take a video of you shooting it and they'll still replace it for free, right? So UL21s, if you break the housing in any way, shape, or form, they replace it for free. But they have a small turnaround time.
Nice.
So very high quality, dude. They have a proprietary battery pack that they make in house, and the connection piece is the same cord that connects to 31s, AR and VGs, and stuff like that. So you can unplug that battery pack and plug it into any device on the market. Those run L3 filmless white phos articulating tubes with an external battery pack is around $84.99. Is that what it is on our website?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as I'm looking at the right unit.
Yeah. That's them. We will run something, so you let me know when this airs, and we'll have something where we'll knock $500 off. So it'll probably be $79.99.
Nice.
For anybody
listening, you'll be able to find that down in the description.
Yeah, we'll come up with that, and that's what we offer to our military and law enforcement guys. So that's a military law enforcement price, and just the whole thing is that they are getting a set of L3 filmless white phos articulating dual tubes, and they could even pick out whatever tubes they want. So if we get our shipment in, we might even be able to say, hey, you can match which tubes are the best matching, and so you can have your own set built for you.
Nice.
So, we might have some pre-built ones that are like, I don't know, 2200, 2300 FOM, and then all of a sudden, hey, you're able to hand pick whatever tubes, and now you've got a set of 2700. So anyway,
nice.
So big price point difference on that. So, again, prices change. Cool thing is they've got a lot of stuff coming out. The cool thing about the world of night vision right now, which I'm just kind of getting involved in the commercial side of it, is it's evolving and it's innovating to be a lot more friendly for commercial use, or for commercial buyers. I mean, dude, it wasn't a year and a half ago they finally opened 31 alphas to the open market. That's pretty cool, man. I remember when it was like, dude, you have a pair of 31s, who you with? Now, bro, I go to classes and civilians are better outfitted than 99% of the agencies that I teach. And
I've heard a lot of that recently.
Yeah, man, it's pretty.
Someone is screaming in the background.
Yeah, let me walk away, man. Some of these knuckleheads are kind of they're getting pretty excited. So, let me walk away. So it should be a little bit more quieter. So. Man, it's so beautiful tonight, so I had to stay outside.
I feel you. I would like to challenge you briefly on your save up by duels instead of a PVS 14.
There's no challenge, man, because you know what? I can guarantee you're going to be 100% correct.
And the story applies to me as well. So back in 2020, right after I got out of the Marine Corps, I got out of the Marine Corps in March.
Yeah.
It was like June. I had a little bit of money from the Marine Corps, plus a stimulus check laying around. Just, the summer of love was really getting intense and whatnot. And I was like, damn, I need knots, but I cannot afford duels right now by any means.
Correct.
So I went and bought the mono, God knowing what was going to happen, knowing that it would be even worse now here in 2023.
Right. Well, especially look at what we're eyeballing right now. Like, we could have a conversation off of this of stuff and some stuff that I'm getting spun up for in my ears to the rail system about. Yeah, our world's about to change. We all know that.
Very significant. But so does your opinion change at all for folks given the times right now, but even more specifically, like economically? I mean, I know for a lot of guys, just even in my local community, I mean, times are tough, and I can barely convince the guys that are buying night vision to buy binoculars, let alone to convince guys to buy duels.
Agreed. And you know what? And you're 100% correct. So let me just rephrase a little bit. Yes. No. Yes, a mono is better than none. I think I said like a mono is better than none. Duals are definitely better. I
Sure.
prefer a set of green duals over a single white phos mono any day. Right. Now that being said, I'm not good at speaking to the general public. Like the whole thing that I'm trying to get used to, Jeremy, is I'm very much I'm a lot better on speaking isolation or like smaller groups because I like discussion points of like, hey, let's talk about this.
Sure.
What's really hard for my brain to, I guess, get wrapped around is the fact of how big your audience is. For my brain is looking at this right now going, it's you and I having a conversation and not realizing that we've got an audience listening to this and they have comments, questions, concerns. They've got heartaches. They've got financial problems. They've got all. And so I very much am trying to like, here's my opinion, but
Sure.
don't take it to the bank. Right. So what I'm about to tell you is this. My only rebuttal is people look at their financial situation and adjust as such to best meet whatever their needs are. So for instance, and I just say this because this is where I see a lot of dudes, young dudes, because I'm not really talking to a whole lot of like 40 and 50-year-old dudes that might want to do this, right? Young dudes. And I'm like, okay, what kind of car do you drive? Okay. What are your spending habits like? Like if you're really wanting to do something like this, let's talk about it. So that being said, also, what's your like, are you trying to better yourself? Are you trying to do this? Because you should be worried about food. I mean, because, all right, let's go there, dude. Before you're buying nods, what's your water supply like? What's your meal plan supply like? What's your tribe? What's your ready group? Everybody's thinking that, man, I'm just going to go there. All right. And I know I'm probably going to step on toes, but that's because, man, to me, it's the truth. People might think that there's a fantasy of like, hey, I'm going to load up with my boys and we're going to go do this. I'm like, here's the thing. You want to know the reality is you need to be worrying about your family. You need to be worrying about your community. When was the last time you went and said hi to your neighbors and started figuring them out, right? Now, this is getting into the whole like mentorship of like, hey, let's be smart about what we're doing. Buy a monocular if you can. But there's a lot of the whole thing of like, be prepared. We have been eyeballing if 2020 wasn't a wake up call, and now we're sitting here wondering an impulse buy. Do you understand? Like, this is where I say, hey guys, let's think and readdress our priorities and how we conduct our lives, because things are getting scary and our world is probably changing right now, which means we probably need to understand our moral and ethical code first before I worry about if I can see in the dark or not. Sure. Because I'm not going to be able to make moral judgment decisions if something were to come to it. Does that make sense? And now I'm getting kind of deep again. No, but it's fine. It's who I am, and when people talk to me, it's like I'm trying to like this is me. This is what my background has taught me. This is what a lot of my experiences have taught me. Of man, I have been found in times wanting and being unprepared, and it's terrifying. And I don't wish that upon anybody. And I'm talking in my personal life and my professional life. So. And the reason is I'm taking the responsibility of that question. That's a big question because you're asking me for financial stuff. And it's like, man, I represent somebody in industry who wants their business. Sure. But I don't want a reckless or careless, because I believe that their dollars should be put to where they need it the most. Mm-hmm. And if they need it the most to get out of debt, awesome. Because right now, I mean, dude, it's stuff of like, it don't matter if you have a mono or not. And all of a sudden our financial system collapses, and all of a sudden all of your debt, your credit card debt and all your loans and everything start being recalled. And now you're having to worry about your house or your mortgage. It doesn't matter because, stuff may not be happening for a while, this stuff that we might need this for. Right. Mm-hmm. But what is happening now is I may not be able to meet my mortgage for the next 2 months or 3 months because of I'm not fiscally or financially prepared for that. So that's where I'm sitting here, dude. And I'm like, there's a lot of people out there saying take a 14 over duals. if you can, right? Like, do it now if you need to. I'm going to be that voice that says, hey, make sure it's the smart decision that matches what your capabilities financially, fiscally, morally, and make sure it's that first.
That's reasonable. I think that's for sure reasonable.
So, I don't know, because you brought up a great point, man. Because, dude, I remember that. Dude, I was right in the middle of it, right in the middle of all that summer of love stuff. But remember, if people didn't learn for something then, they aren't going to learn from something now.
Yeah.
People, we, as the 2A community, that should have been our wake-up call for us of, like, getting our stuff in order. Like, to be honest, here's my personal opinion. This is the gospel according to Chance. That was a great dress rehearsal for anybody who considers themselves a prepper. Okay?
Yeah, for sure.
That was there could not be a better dress rehearsal of what potentially could happen, what was trying to be had and acted upon us, and what thankfully didn't happen. But that doesn't mean another round of whatever's not coming again. So if people saw that and still haven't really fiscally, then hey, you know what? Maybe we need to address that. And I know I'm starting to preach, and I get that. And people are like, man, who the heck are you? And I'm like, I get that. But you asked me, monos or duals, and I'm going to say it's going to be duals. Save up for it. If you need a mono now, understand, get a mono now, and I will happily trade that in for your first set of duals. Just understand, I'm not going to lowball you. I'm going to give you an honest, Garrett and I are going to give you an honest quote to trade into a set of duals. But remember, we're trying to make some money off of, we can't just take it in easy peasy. We got to make some money off of it because we're running a business. We hope that people come to us for their business, that they know we're going to be fair, our prices are fair, and we're going to treat them right, and we're going to do well. But at the same time, like, you can't hold me responsible if you paid $4,000 for this, even though it's only valued at $2,000.
Sure.
Oh, dude, and I don't know how old you are. Do you remember 2012?
I do remember 2012.
Okay, dude, I was working at a gun store in college during all of that. And here is my point. This is my point. Okay. Man, I remember that fall of 2012, Sandy Hook happened. And oh my gosh, I learned the value of what a 30-round magazine could hold as currency. And if people weren't alive, of course they were alive. If people weren't really aware of what was going on, Sandy Hook happened. Rest in peace to those babies. Okay. They started coming after guns, and so everybody went into an uproar, and they basically did a run on the banks except for gun stores. We couldn't find anything to replace what we were selling. So our prices went up. That's what everybody's like, man, why are your prices going up? Like, because we can't get any more. We don't know if we're going to be in business next month because we can't resupply this stuff. That's how run on the banks happen.
Sure.
So I remember a couple instances, and I'll just share one, which kind of is my point. There was two guns we had left. I don't remember what one of them was, but I remember what this one was. It was called a Carbon 15. I think it was made by Bushmaster, and it was a plastic polymer rifle. Okay, AR-15. Dude, we had it for months because it was a piece of garbage.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And I think we had it at time. I think it was only like $400. It was the last thing on the shelf. We had no more magazines, no more pistols. Like, there was nothing. We had nothing except those two. And actually, I think I remember it was like a break action shotgun or something like that, right? Some guy comes in a panic and goes to the owner and is just like, what do you guys have? And he's like, bro, we don't have anything. And he's like, what's that one? He goes, that's a Carbon 15. And he goes, how much you want for it? And this guy just jokingly, because, dude, mentally we're exhausted with dealing with everybody, right? Goes, $3,500. And he goes, done. And bought it. Meaning, he wasn't prepared and started panic buying. So that's what we have to be wary of. That's what we have to be wary of, is just being involved with panic buying. And whether people want to admit it or not, people in the second 2A community are really bad at panic buying or impulse buying. Okay.
This is probably goes right onto your story today. I don't even know if you've seen this yet, but there are some screenshots of emails and order notifications from Lake City going around canceling / suspending ammo orders given current events.
No, man, I don't doubt it. So Lake City is just north of me, man. Like where I live, Lake City ammunition plant is just north of me. That's literally, so when we're talking like counterterrorism operation stuff, that's one of our soft targets we always worry about. It's not going to get hit. They're not going to be able to blow it up. But it's that close to me. So they make all the ammunition for 5.56. They do 50 cal, and they do the 20 millimeters out of the A10 guns. Mm-hmm. Bro, you want to talk about amazing. So they test fire that a couple times a day, and our range that we trained at was just south of there. And you're training, and bro, you want to talk about the sound of freedom. When that thing goes off, it's just and it just echoes for everywhere. It echoes forever, and it's just like, oh. And now you guys that were overseas, I imagine it was a lot better hearing that. We heard it all the time on the range. It was just like, man, that is just American firepower and wonderful freedom. That's the sound of red, white, and blue.
I love A10s.
Yeah, dude. So anyway, that's how close Lake City. I didn't know that that's what's happening, but yeah, man, our world is changing right now. And so I imagine a lot of people are going out and panic buying ammunition. And I'm like, wait a second. Where were you 6 months ago? Instead of panic buying 2,000 rounds of ammo, just go in and buy 3 boxes of ammo once a week. Mm-hmm. Buy 3 packs of ammo once a week. And then all of a sudden and here's the other thing is everybody wants to, man, okay, this is all soapbox stuff, man.
I'm going to have to retitle this episode.
I know, right? Why do we panic buy a Full Metal Jacket? Let's go there. And I'm probably going to become infamous for this and probably sound bites for you, but why do people panic buy a Full Metal Jacket? Let's just say it.
It's available. There's a lot of it.
It's available. There's a lot of it, and it's cheap.
Sure.
And why do we panic buy, or why do we buy a bunch of it? Because we want to have it for insert whatever name for that event is. We tracking?
Tracking.
You want to talk, but what is one of the least effective rounds in that type of a situation? Now, the advantage is you have a lot of it, right? The disadvantage accuracy through volume. Now, if I were to tell you that the ballistics of a lot more different ones, so why do we panic buy that instead of take time and buy 3 or 4 boxes of Hornady Tap or something or some other self-defense round through time? Why don't we do that? Because after a while, all of a sudden we have 2, 3, 4, 5,000 rounds of self-defense ammunition that is a lot more effective against soft tissue. Mm-hmm. But we panic buy because we think it's best. So it'd be great to have a bunch of that also. And man, and am I going crazy in this? Like, no. Do you disagree with my assessment? It's because it's something I have. It's a bone I have picked. I had the bone to pick when I was working at that gun store of like, why is everybody buying all of this and they're leaving all the self-defense ammo? Like they're all going in and buying all the Full Metal Jack, but like here's all the self-defense. Like, well, that's expensive. And I'm like, bro, you are buying this because you think the world is ending, right?
No, I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, I've probably got about a little under sub 1,000 of self-defense rounds, and then thousands upon thousands of FMJs. But in my mind, I'm trying to rotate ammo because
you still need. What do you still? Yep, Jeremy. What do you still need to do? Still got to train.
I have so much to do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You still got to train, right? So you got the rounds to train it, right? So all I'm saying, and here, and it was the same thing with toilet paper. So everybody's making fun of the guys with toilet paper. I'm like, bro, they're going crazy about toilet paper. You turn around, what's behind them? Kleenexes, paper towels, and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's the same thing. In fact, that's actually softer. The aloe vera, the aloe vera Kleenexes wipe your butt way better than toilet paper, right? But we get so hyper focused on stuff, we stop losing the ability to objectively say what is best for what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So, full circle, mono, duals, buy whatever is financially and fiscally appropriate for you.
That is fair. It's fair.
So, if a mono is great, then train with a mono. Understand its limitations. Understand its capabilities, understand what it has advantages and disadvantages to.
You can pick up duels off a cartel member later. Anyway,
or off Taliban, man. They got plenty of. I guess the funny thing was all that stuff there. All of us, like in the night vision world, that are inundated with the whole ITAR thing. You know, the ITAR compliance. Dude, when we left Afghanistan, we're all like, so is ITAR not a? Does that not exist anymore? Because I'm pretty sure we just left boatloads of these things that are ITAR regulated. And we left them over there for terrorists, and like, don't say anything. I'm like, whatever, dude. Rules for me, but not for thee.
Yep. So we've established our important and expensive night vision devices. Now, what about mounts?
Man,
because I don't think people truly put enough value on the mount until they actually get night vision and they start wearing it, and they're like, oh, this surplus mount sucks.
The Rhino mounts.
Oh, I hate the Rhino mount. I didn't realize how much I hated the Rhino mount until
you get the
out of the Marine
Wilcox
Corps and saw literally anything else.
Yeah, dude. My first one was a Rhino mount too, and I'm like, the tension on that thing. I'm like, these are gonna snap me in my face. Like, do you remember, like, as you're coming down and the tension as you're lowering it, you're like, don't do it, and you're waiting for it to just kind of be like the Jack in the Box, like snap in your face. And you're like, you're gonna take out an eye. You're gonna take out one of my eyes. Yeah. Man, I know it sucks. But if you're buying that, if you're not gonna spend a lot of money on a good car and not have a good pair of shoes, meaning not have a good set of wheels and tires to go on it. So, man, I know it sucks. $500 for a mount. Dude, you just gotta grit it and bear it, because that's the industry, that's the hobby, that's the pastime you're wanting to get involved in. Man, I would, if I'm gonna buy that much, I want something that's gonna hold it and be secure. So, man, your Wilcox G22, G24 mounts are where it's at. And then, man, there's different ways. It's hard to me explaining just auditory, like articulating it, but then you've got to figure out how you're going to retain it to your device. And man, there's lots of different places to put your money. So let's talk about that real quick. Places to put your money and places to save money. How about that?
Sure.
Oh, and this kind of goes into with our last conversation. I promise it won't be as deep and it won't be so boxing. So places to put your money is going to be in your tubes and your mount. Okay. Places to save money. A great place to save money is going to be in your IR device. Okay. A lot of people, man, here's the thing. If you've got the money, go do whatever you want. The best part about being a citizen of the greatest country that's ever existed, man, we have our problems, but I'll tell you what, we still have a pretty dadgum good way of life. Okay. I can tell you this. I'm outside right now and I'm enjoying every bit, and I don't have to worry about airstrikes. I don't have to worry about anything like that. I just got to worry about some bum coming up and trying to knife me in the back. Okay. That's a joke, man. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so your IR device, if you've got the money, get whatever one you want. But that's a great place for people to budget, because I don't know if you were there for it, but a good demo I like to do at these places that I like to travel to is everybody wants full power lasers, when all reality what they need is a really good illuminator.
Yeah,
I
remember that.
So I don't know if you were there for it, but I turned a PEC to the equivalent of the ATPL-C or the civilian laser, and I shined it, and we were able to get, I think, 600 yards. That laser, you could see that dot for 600 yards. Okay. But the illuminator didn't go very far at all. So put your money into a really good illuminator. You can build yourself a really good makeshift mall, the equivalent of a mall, for $1,300. Tyler with Overbore Systems just posted about this, because he just came out with this new cool little attachment called a swivel, and it's awesome. Oh my gosh, it's awesome. For somebody, I run a mall, and it is amazing. But in that, he just went back up to Ben Franklin, and he saw somebody running where he had a mod light. It's like a really, really, really good flashlight, weapons light. Right above that was a Surefire Vampire. Great IR illuminator. Terrible white light.
Yep, that's what I run on one of my rifles.
Okay, so Great illuminator, right? Great IR illuminator.
Great illuminator.
How's your white light? Not so good, right?
If I'm inside, I'm happy.
I didn't know about these. It's something called a Sumo or something like that. It's like a $200 or $300 airsoft laser.
Yeah, the Sumo gear.
Okay, Sumo gear. So here's the thing: is I'm speaking off of like hearsay, right? But let's just say what my version. So I carried an MP5 for a long time, and I put a Steiner. Gosh, I can't even remember all the acronyms. A Steiner CQBL or whatever. Basically, I had a red laser, an IR laser, no illuminator. So I slaved a vampire light to it. So now I have a really good illuminator and a laser. Okay. That's essentially what you're doing. That Steiner CQBL or whatever it's called is maybe $500 or $600. How much is a vampire? For $400. I think our website has them for $400, right? So putting all that together, you're about $1,000. Getting a good mount and a tape switch, you're looking at about $1,200, and now you have a great functional IR device for most of what people on everyday stuff is going to be able to need. So put the emphasis in the illumination, not into the laser.
I'm glad you brought up the Vampire series from Surefire, because I was going to ask about that on what your general opinions on it were, because a lot of civilian lasers IR illuminator output,
they're terrible.
It's terrible, and there's really no way around it unless you buy something full power that from another country, or you find a really good new PEC and not like one of the 06 versions.
It creates what's called the Starry Night. It makes it. It's just like kind of looks like that Xbox stuff where everything you have a million little green dots, or you have a million dots all over the place. It's hard.
Like I said, I bought I wouldn't say panic bought, but I impulse bought my mono back in 2020. And I did the same for my IR laser because I didn't know what all was out there on the civilian markets at the time. I was just used to being issued a PEC and
It's hard. Dude, it's hard, isn't it? Dude, I went through that. It's hard realizing you're not going to get stuff issued. So been there, man. It's hard.
So on the price market, what I actually ended up settling with for my first IR laser was a Holosun LS321.
Love it. Isn't that isn't it like $800 or something like that?
$800, and I can use the illuminator out to about 100 yards confidently. Past that, not really worth it.
Not really worth it.
The laser 350, see it solid. Honestly, I love the Holosun.
I'm bringing that. I want to bring that back because that is actually, if I were to say I had to build one, I'm going to call it civilian version. I would actually do that with the vampire illuminator for the Surefire vampire. My gosh, dude, I'm sorry. The Surefire vampire, because what I loved about the Holosun illuminator is it didn't have any flood. It was a direct circle, if I remember right, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and it's a good circle, like it's solid, crisp. Okay,
it is.
So, and that provided your distance, but it doesn't allow for illumination around whatever you're pointing at. So, if you were to have the Holosun with the Surefire, to me, that is the ideal setup. If I had to go back and redo my MP5, I would probably do that. It's small, it's affordable, it's unintrusive. It's it was a great device. So
that's the setup I have for my 13.7 is the Vampire and the Holosun on a Surefire dual.
Dude, it's awesome. Yeah, man, it's awesome, and it allows you to be able to punch out, go to work. It allows you to actually punch that illuminator out if you need to, but it also enables you to have the good illumination because the Vampire doesn't go out very far. I mean, you're looking at maybe 50 yards on an ideal situation. But for a CQB setting, man, it's awesome. God dang it. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing, right?
And what people don't realize, I've had this conversation with some of my civilian buddies who are in the night vision game, is that when we're starting to talk about night vision engagements of 200 or more yards, your illumination doesn't matter. Like, you just know where you're getting shot at from, and you're just returning fire at that location. Positive identification is very much questionable at that point, and if you can't have it on the civilian side, you probably shouldn't be shooting 300 yards in the dark.
Yeah. Again,
unless it's the cartel. Then
exactly.
You shoot it then 300 yards in the dark.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing, man, is I don't have any dog in the fight when it comes to long engagements. The longest I've ever looked at somebody professionally, like the longest distance I've ever looked through glass professionally was 122 yards. And thankfully I didn't have to pull the trigger, right? That's the longest I've ever had to. And most 99% of what I've had to do is urban stuff. Anytime we had some operations that were actually pretty rural. But as far as like majority of my time was in some sort of a rural environment, an urban environment. So I have no dog in the fight when it comes to engagements out to 300, 400, 500 yards and further. Cause to me, I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, my offset and my offset is this, my bullet's traveling down while the laser's straight. So therefore my offset is going to be, so I can't count on that. What's my over? And I'm like, shoot, man. I wish I had some close air support. So
long distance night vision is not an easy game to play by any means.
Right. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing is that I'm being facetious. There's a lot to come into play because we've had to do a lot with distance, but I've never had to, do any sort of engagements for anything like that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I have any sort of real opinion. I know that we've had to prepare for that stuff.
Sure.
We did a lot where we were crossing a couple fields, and man, it was a good 600-700 yards. But at the same time, like there was ways that we were negating that, but that's a conversation probably for a different time.
One other big question I kind of want to get onto as far as our setups is IR strobes specifically for the civilian use.
Are you talking about like IFF stuff?
Yeah, like helmet mounted IR.
Yeah. Okay.
I see a lot of civilian guys rocking them on their helmet, and
why?
To me,
why?
I'm always like, why?
Why? I want you to know, I said that before you said it.
I think you did, but I was going to finish my sentence, damn it. I see people rocking it. I'm like, why do you have it on? They're like, well, so my buddies can also see me in the dark.
Oof.
I'm like, okay.
You ever looked at those things underneath the dark, man, and you're close? You're going to flare everything out, and it's going to be way too bright.
That and like, especially on the civilian side, people were like, well, what if, so-and-so comes for me one day, whatever, paint the bad situation.
Yeah,
we can even say the cartel for just to be PC.
Correct.
The cartel's got night vision and shit like that. I'm like, all right, so you have a giant flashing IR strobe on your head while you and your fantasy are actively engaging others with night vision. Correct. This doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
Why is that on your helmet?
It doesn't make sense, man. And again, it's where I'm learning that I have to just be careful with how I say stuff, just because it's like, I don't care. Like, here's the thing is people can say whatever they want about me, and that's fine. But there's a difference between reality and fantasy. I've got some on mine. Do you want to know why I do? There is not a nope. There is not a single reason I have in my world now that I live in that I'm going to be utilizing it for anything like that. I don't do that stuff anymore. I wish I could, and maybe someday I might go back into it. I honestly have it on there because it is just part of it. It's part of the image of it. That's it.
Sure.
Okay. So that being said, I can't think of a single reason that I'm going to need to be throwing IR strobes or anything, or even green because a lot of them, like, and I don't even know all the different ones. Like, I've got a manta on I call it my teaching helmet, because that's what I wear teaching most of the time. I have that because whenever I'm on the firing line, I turn that on, because when we're running a night vision course, we like to have the rear, something that is indicating the front of the firing line. So if you are not seeing, if you can't see the front of the firing line, if you can't see our backs, meaning that you have something illuminated behind you. So hang on. So like, think of the firing line, and on the back we have green chem sticks, lit up. Usually it's green chem sticks. cracked and they're on everybody's back. Or if they have those, we say, hey, turn it on, but make sure it's not strobing. It's just a solid green. Because anybody behind there needs to be able to look and say, that is danger area. That if I'm looking at the back, I'm looking at their back. So anything beyond that is danger. That's fire. You're right. Mm-hmm. So that's why that's essentially why I have that stuff on my kit now. There's nothing for air support or anything for that. And so, I don't foresee any reason, especially if they really want to go there. If I'm operating where I think that they have the same capabilities I do, I'm going to be as quiet and as low profile as I can, meaning I'm not broadcasting a single thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because it goes even the same principle that we're talking about even goes into the whole iWatches and iPhones and stuff like that. You know, why do people have the phones on the front of their kits? Because they want to, it looks good on Instagram and stuff like that. Or, hey, they were running an iTac software or something like that, so they want to run it. Do they know how to disengage all of that? So that way that facial recognition stuff on your phones is all done through infrared. And if they're not aware of it, their front of their chest is lighting up in a really bright blinking light because that's the facial recognition stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same thing of like, man, you gotta have that. You gotta know what your kit's doing so you're not giving yourself away. And here's another good point. Is I don't want to be totally the whole anti stuff, the whole anti using this thing, dude. I'll tell you what. I went to an airsoft milsim event. I had a blast. It was so much fun, and I couldn't think of a better event that's more common that you and your Ready group could go to really work on what's good and bad in whatever team TTPs that you have. Mm-hmm. And now, granted, there were dudes there in anime, there were dudes there doing all sorts of crazy stuff and everything, and it's like, dude, that's fine. Dude, it's a fun place. It's a fun place to let loose, right? Sure. But I was looking at it as going, dude, like we were doing stuff that I'm like, this is pretty good practice, because the thing with a lot of civilians, it's really hard to teach in a lot of my classes or other people, like other instructors, we have these conversations. It's really hard to demonstrate or to drive home the why something is this way, because why is usually fueled by experiences. I mean, your time in the military, right? You have experiences that you rely on that help drive what you do. And it's hard to give that to civilians. It's hard to mimic that. It's hard to replicate it because, a lot of that comes from a different environment than what you can provide in a controlled training environment. Mm-hmm. So, those airsoft events were actually pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. I walked away, and luckily I was with some pretty good dudes. Good dudes in meaning like they do those things and stuff, and we were able to learn, and we had a good time, man. And it was a great place to learn all that. So that's a place that people can go and take their gear, travel, get your buddies together, and travel cross country to some of these places and see and put it to the test. And a lot of them might be, hey, man, those guys have the same capability. Here's a great example. Night one. So the dudes that I were with, none of them had really done anything professionally. Okay. And if they're listening, because I know you got a pretty big audience, if they're listening, man, those guys were awesome. Hearts of gold, but they just didn't have the experience yet. And it showed. They'd gone to a lot of these events, but here's my case in point. We came up and we're supposed to get to this side of whatever the objective was. And I round the corner and I see a whole bunch of dudes about 60 yards away, and there's about 40 of them. And when you're under nods, color patterns kind of go to the wayside. All right. I couldn't tell their color patterns from where we were at. And there's no way with our small force, I'm going to sit here and be like, are those good guys or bad guys? We're not going to deconflict or do anything, because if we deconflict and they're bad guys, what have we now done? They're going to come after us. So what we do, we blend in and casually I was like, guys, let's go across. So we cross this linear danger area and we're waving at them and stuff like that. But at the same time, my factor is going off, because under nods, there's no real way of saying, hey, do those guys wearing multicam? Are they green? We don't know. So I get them in the building and I'm like, guys, go push, and we're moving right. These guys didn't know, we had never worked together. So they're like, wait, what? And it was dark, no ambient light inside of this building. And I told them, like, hey guys, we are doing passive aiming unless it is absolutely necessary. because we don't want, there's a lot of people in this field that can have the same capabilities we do. So let's not give away our position. So only use active aiming or our illumination if it's absolutely necessary. So as the confusion of coming into this really dark room and where we're going to go, turns out those guys were bad. And they came up and slaughtered us from behind because we're sitting here kind of like, oh, what do we do? What do we? And I'm like, just move. Well, we gave up. The guys didn't understand the importance of rear security. So guess what? We got slaughtered. So we respawned, went back to our base. And a lot of what I'm talking about is they're saying, oh, that's why rear security is important. You've been in the military, right? So you understand how important rear security is.
Yep.
With civilians, it's hard because it's usually a pretty boring job until what, Jeremy?
Until someone dies.
Until someone dies, right? And so now, guess what happened the entire rest of the event?
They held their rear security.
They held rear security. So when I say how great it was that they were able to kind of get some of those lessons, they were able to take some of those lessons away. And it was done under knots because we were able to say, hey, do you see why we're not going to deconflict with them? Why aren't we going to do that? Well, because if they're bad, they have a lot of dudes and we have no idea where we're going. And our mission is to get from A to B. So not to, try and get there without any engagements. So our mission is this. If we do that, we are altering our mission. They're like, oh, okay. So the whole point of like what that event provided was a way to get some experience under knots, a good training environment, and provided a lot of fun, man. I walked away going, man, that was actually a lot of fun. And we're going to go back. Yeah, dude, I'm going back. It was a lot of fun.
And that very much spearheads into my next question, which was going to be the best way for people to train with their night vision.
Easy. Put them on, go walk around your house. Do normal day operation, normal day, every stuff. So let's do two things. And if I get off track, first one is going to be getting comfortable with them. And then second thing is going to be becoming efficient with them. Effectively getting used to them, throw them on, start doing normal tasks. Take out the garbage, walk around your house, menial chores and stuff like that. Turn lights on and off. Most, Gen 3 night vision, auto gain. So you turn a light on, it's not going to do anything crazy. It doesn't hurt them. They're actually designed for that. Getting used to some of that stuff allows you the ability so there's some depth perception problems. So when you throw them on, you lose about 6 inches. And meaning that if people throw your night vision on, take a ball, throw it up in the air, and it'll actually land about 6 inches in front of you, just because of how your brain is processing it. So get used to that depth perception and walk around. Get a good daytime cap. Remember I said we were going to talk about that. Yep. A daytime cap is where it's a piece of accessory that you put on the front of your so when you get your device, take it out to a nice, clear, open, crisp field outside something and find the greatest amount of detail as far as you can and focus it so that is as perfect as it comes. Like it doesn't get any more in focus. Then you put your daytime cap on, which is it's something that covers the front of your ocular lens and has a little pinhole, usually the size of a 5.56 round or smaller on the front. And what that does is that now limits the amount of light exposure, but it allows you to have what's called like infinite focus, meaning 3 feet in, you've got a device, right? Without a daytime cap, when you're looking through it, everything close to you is blurry. It's out of focus. Yeah. Okay. Distance, it's clear. Put the daytime cap on, and now you're able to see clearly 2 feet in front of you, all the way out to infinity. So that comes into play when you're doing a lot of CQB stuff. So that's just and then that helps you get used to things in and around your house. I don't recommend driving in it unless you do it on a controlled I'll say, hey, yeah, if you're going to do that, just make sure it's under a controlled environment.
I'm glad you brought it up because I was thinking it. I was like, am I going to bring this up or am I going to have somebody crash on their back road?
Exactly. And they're like, and then you get the class action lawsuit against, this. Like, no, do it on a controlled thing. But, just do everyday stuff with it, man. It's everyday stuff with it. and that'll lead into anyway. So that's that, because when I get into the efficiency side, it'll be a lot more of like this whole matrix learning model thing that I came up with a while ago. But yeah, I mean, that's the best way to do it, man, is just get used to it, throw it on. Start paying attention to what its limitations and capabilities are. Night vision is not the end all. You can be in a pitch black room, throw them on, and it looks like noonday. While you go to a different dark room and you throw them on, and you can't see crap in front of you. And that's because the darkness that we interpret is actually full of little light particles, little photons. Mm-hmm. So understanding what in that room causes those photons will help you read what its capabilities and limitations are.
I will tell this to everybody. One fantastic way of training with your night vision requires absolutely no gun at all. Requires
none.
Is get together with your buddies, take some of the training IFACs that you should have laying around that you guys practice march with and everything, and go into a dark ass room at night and practice doing march under nods with low light.
Ooh, I love that. I love that.
That was eye-opening to me when we were doing a mount exercise in the Marine Corps, when it was like part of like an evaluation that we had to do. And we went in with just our really crappy, barely see out of it green PVS 14. And it's like, all right, go fix that dude. And at that point I was like, I can't see anything. This night vision device is damn near not worth anything to me.
Yep.
I've got little to no ambient light in this room, but I have to fix this casualty. That's something that really makes you really think about like your hard skills.
Yep. That's what I'm saying, man, is just go do everyday stuff. And I mean, even simple, dude, I know it sounds crazy, but even simple things like folding laundry, because you're using the textures, you're using there's a lot of different minute things that you should be normally, I mean, how many shirts have we folded? How many towels have we folded? But when you change what your brain is seeing, meaning visually you're taking in stuff that it's not used to, it throws off a lot of your fine motor skills. And if you can get used to those fine motor skills, one of the craziest things, I don't say the craziest, that's a little hyperbolic, a really good indicator of how serious people are in their training is basic reloads. Mm-hmm. Because under nods, they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, here's the thing. You should be able to do basic reloads with your eyes closed. Yeah. Drawing your magazine and inserting and finding the way of inserting it into the mag well in pitch darkness or low light capabilities. You don't need nods to practice that. You can do that at home, and it's a lot of just fine motor skills of being able to muscle memory, know where everything's at. And the point is I can throw a baseball up in the air and have a pretty good idea of where it's coming down at because it's muscle memory. I can tell whenever students they've gotten stuff, but they haven't trained with it by a lot of the way that they handle reloads, because that's stuff that they can do. Now, granted, that's stuff with their weapons, but what I'm saying is doing like laundry, you're using fine motor skills that we use every single day and doing a task that we normally do every day. And it kind of throws off how we move our heads. I mean, it's simple things that we don't even think about. I'm not even talking about just the ability of like processing stuff. You have to move your head. You have to adjust your head in different ways to be able to see something. So it's an over-exaggerated movement to move your head, to orient, to say, I'm looking at this while keeping my body facing forward. And this comes into play. The reason why I'm saying that is because you're sitting on a couch, turning to grab laundry and assessing, I'm going to do all of the towels. So now I'm going and bringing all the towels. And this sounds a little Mr. Miyagi-ish, right? But as I do this and I'm folding towels, I'm getting used to orienting my body and being comfortable doing that. I worked with a team not too long ago, and they were having a hard problem. They were having trouble of, hey, this is my sector. Well, if I have stimulus to my right, they would just automatically turn to that. And I'm like, hang on, your sector's here. Why are you giving that up? Well, there's stuff over there. But does that need your attention or not? Well, I don't know. Exactly. Instead of leaving your sector, which you and I both know is that's bad. You don't leave your sector unless something really causes you to leave your sector of fire. Instead, why don't you turn your head and orient it in a way of saying, does this need my attention? No, it does not. So I haven't given anything up. And it sounds so simple, and that's actually basic stuff, but we tend to kind of overthink just little things. Anyway, so stuff around the house allow us to become very comfortable moving our head. And especially, here's the thing, especially if you have a 14. Because this is why. If I have the 14 on my left eye, and if I need to look to the right, I have to over-exaggerate my head to get my left eye over to see whatever's in front of me. Mm-hmm. Or opposite, if it's on my right eye and I have something to my 7 o'clock, which is to the left and behind, I have to fully orient, and I need to get used to how to do that, because it might be something completely different than I've seen before. So anyway, that's just ways of doing it that doesn't require anything crazy. Doesn't require a range. Doesn't require, this big controlled training environment. Man, this is just normal everyday stuff that we just take. Sometimes we take for granted.
For sure. Well, Chance.
I got one more. Hang on, I got one more. I got the efficiency thing. Let me go over that, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, you're good.
Get really, really, really good at daytime shooting. Get really, really good at nighttime and white light shooting. And there will be hardly any learning curve. I don't want to say, I know I'm speaking very facetious and very like broad swath of the brush. You understand? If you're really good effectively during the day and with white light, you will find how much of a little learning curve is to then have the basic understanding of operating with a weapon under night vision.
Sure.
Because not much of the mechanics change. And this is where I was teaching a class, I was teaching a civilian class, and after the first night, I was like, what do we notice about what we did today? And they were like, man, I thought it was going to be something different. This is all stuff we do during the day. And I'm like, what'd you think it was going to be? You know what I mean? It was me not realizing, being from my world to this world, it was a little bit different, right? And I was kind of like, wait a minute, that didn't make sense to me. Like, what'd you think it was going to be? And he was legitimate. He was like, I don't know. I thought it was going to be some great, like, flip of the switch knowledge that you were going to drop on us. And it hit me that it's like, no, dude, the only thing we're doing is we are enhancing our capabilities and all the principles that we do during the day. Mm-hmm. And we're just adding night vision to it and an IR device. All the
fundamentals stay the same.
All the fundamentals stay the same, dude. All the fundamentals stay the same. So the reason why I compared it to the Matrix is it seemed like he was waiting for that file to be uploaded into his brain, kind of like Trinity. And she's like, hey, I need to learn how to fly a chopper. And she's like, okay, now I can do it. And it's like, that's not how it works. It's a hard skill. It's a hard skill that takes a lot of fundamental practice of mastering the fundamentals. And you do that, and it will help implement and better yourself here. It's not like you can just be a mediocre shooter during the day and you're a mediocre shooter at night, and then you're a mediocre shooter with night vision. It's like, no, if you're a mediocre shooter during the day, you're probably going to be a bad shooter under night vision. Mm-hmm. So get the fine motor skills during the daytime better and enhance those. So anyway, I wanted to throw that in. I want to throw that into it. But
no, it's a good point. It's definitely a good point.
So, well, man, sorry, I'll let you close out. This is your house, and I appreciate you having me, man. I'll let you.
No, thank you for coming on, and we definitely got to talk about a whole lot more than just night vision, which is always good. You know, everybody brings something different to the table, different experiences, different mindsets, different opinions. So it definitely, helps paint a picture for everybody else.
Yeah, man. I don't know when this is going to air, but I'll tell you this. I think our world's changing right now, and I don't know how dated that's going to be, from 6 months to a year from now. But I'll tell you this, man, is the best thing I can tell. I try and tell my buddies, and we all try and say is, man, do the best thing you can to make sure your home is in order. Make sure everything is in good moral standing with you and whatever God or whatever deity that you believe in, and whatever moral compass you have, ensure that it's lined up with something, because, man, our world's changing. I don't know, a lot of people remember 9/11, man, but I remember it, and that's kind of the vibes I'm getting. It's just not directly on the home front, but a lot of that is the same thing that I'm getting. So just make sure that we're all in order and we all are good people, and be nice and be helpful to all those around you. So anyway, man, you are an absolute pleasure to be with. I had a lot of fun meeting you and getting to know you up there at the HTA thing, and I appreciate you having me on. This was a good time, and I feel I'm honored that you let me have this platform for a little bit, and we had a good discussion. I feel really good about our discussion, man.
Absolutely. Although we had a great conversation, you definitely brought a ton to the table here. So I'm really excited for everybody to get to hear this, and hopefully I find myself on the road one day and I can check out Midwest Preparedness.
Well, I think I'm actually bringing some night vision courses up to Ben Franklin soon, so I'm working with them on getting us back up there to run some live fire night vision stuff, and we might do some night vision CQB stuff. But I kind of like, man, it's cool, but I'd rather do all the hard skills, like some live fires, the live fire CQB marksmanship stuff.
Sure.
So, all right, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. This will come out for our day this coming Monday.
Cool.
So
cool.
The 16th.
Good deal, man. Well, have fun, and dude, we'll talk offline sometime, and always enjoy it. I'm glad to have met you. You're a good dude.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, buddy. That's all I've got, guys, for episode 28, Night Vision, Budgets, and More. As always, guys, train hard, train often.
Tell me turn it down and I'ma only turn up louder. Call me what you wanna, but you can't call me no coward. Strength in numbers, we the people, still the ones with power. Fighting fire with fire, time to take back what is ours.